Hi everyone! Today I am making a card using a new stamp set called Positive Thoughts. I really like the sentiments in this stamp set. Friends like you mean more every year. Sending positive thoughts and feel-good wishes. Hugs, prayers, love. Very sweet stamp set to have in my collection, and I love the images here. They're great for layering and kind of a more soft and pretty cards, but I think you can challenge yourself to do something bold and vibrant with the flower images too. So I think it's a really beautiful stamp set, and as soon as I saw it, it was in my first order from the new spring mini catalog. And imagine my super happiness when I was given a sneak peek of something coming our way next month for customers, but this month for demonstrators. They are offering some coordinating dies to go with some of our spring catalog offerings and also some of the celebration offerings. And so this die set is going to be available starting in February for customers, and I grabbed it right away. It is made to go with the Positive Thoughts stamp set. So it's called Nature's Thoughts, and it has cutouts for the foliage here and the feather and the butterfly and the flower, so all of your images. But then there's these great additional dies. There's a tiny butterfly, some more stems, a larger detailed feather, and this pretty frame, and then another little detailed piece here. And then also this is a fun little piece. It's a flower center, and you can't see probably in the video, but it's got some fun little cutouts that you can kind of pop out. It's hard to see, I think, if you're not in person, but what it is that you can kind of puff out so you've got some dimension to your flower center. It kind of just gives it, maybe if I turn it to the side, you can see what I'm talking about perhaps. Anyway, and you can put that in the center of your flower for some added detail, and it's really fun. So this is a really fun die collection. I want you to be looking for that February 1st, and also all the new coordinating dies and things that are going to be coming out, and I will of course have those on my Facebook page and my blog, bestpapercuts.com. So here is the card that I came up with for this stamp set, and I have to make a lot of these for a swap. Oops. And so I'm going to make some with you. They're the same, except for on this one I threw on some petal pink rhinestones, which I thought were super pretty. And here I didn't. I couldn't decide if that was worth putting on or not. So let's get started. This is really simple to put together, but I think it looks really soft and beautiful. I'm starting with a base of petal pink, and this is just a piece of cardstock scored down the center long ways at 4 1/4 and then cut at 5 1/2. And then I've got these layering pieces. This is shimmery white cardstock, and you don't really see the shimmer super well on the video, and it's a nice cardstock for cards because it's a little bit heavier. It has a slight shimmer to it. It's not real sparkly like a Dazzling Diamonds or something like that, but it has a little shimmer to it, and it withstands watercolor techniques because it's a little heavier, and I think that shimmer coating is somewhat non-absorbent maybe, so it can hold up to some watercolor techniques, and we're going to do a nice little wash on the background here. So let's start with the wash so that can dry. I'm using Sahara sand and my aqua painter. So I'm going to squeeze the barrel and get this pretty wet in here and pick up some of this ink and just kind of do a little wash on the background. And I'm going to be kind of heavy at the top, and then as I go down I'm going to stay kind of over towards the right side. So my wash is kind of trailing off to the right. I keep my brush pretty wet when I'm doing a background wash so I don't get a lot of streaking. And again, I'm just kind of starting at the top all the way across, but then I am trailing off to the right. Okay, that's it for Sahara Sand. So I'm going to put these aside to dry. I want to make sure they're completely dry before I do that embossing, because the embossing powder will just kind of stick everywhere. So now on another piece of shimmery white cardstock, I'm going to stamp my images that are going to get cut out. I've got the flower image and the foliage here. I don't really know what kind of a plant that is, so I don't know what to call it. Someone called it a fern, although I don't know. Maybe. Okay, and the butterfly. So these are really, really fun, and I'm going to do a little bit of sponging and inking. So I'm going to ink up my leaf here in Pear Pizzazz. And then with Mossy Meadow, I'm going to use a sponge dauber and just add a little bit more color to the leaves. Now I do have to clean it off in between because I don't want to put that Mossy Meadow in my Pear Pizzazz ink pad. So back to Pear Pizzazz. And now I'm going to kind of do the same thing with the flower. This time I'm doing Petal Pink and Calypso Coral. This time I'm using a little cut up sponge because on my samples I ruined my Calypso Coral dauber because I accidentally grabbed the wrong one and put it in the Mossy Meadow. Alright, so I need 2 of these flowers. I'm just kind of doing the edges of the flower in the dark. What do you think of that two-tone ink look? I think it just gives it a little more dimension. Okay, now for the butterfly, on my samples, I inked this up in the new Saddle Brown Stays On ink. And I love that they added a brown to our Stays On collection, just because I feel like, you know, sometimes when you're using something that requires the Stays On, which is, you know, like a permanent for watercolor or, you know, watercolor projects, you don't always want your outline to be black. So this is a nice soft way to do your outline. And that's what I did for this butterfly. But this is on back order, unfortunately, until March. So it's been wildly popular by us. And so I'm going to do these 2 in early espresso. Oh no, what is this? Soft suede. Just because I want to see if I can still get the same effect, even because it's on back order. I don't want everybody saying, I can't even make this card. So here it is in soft suede, which is darker, as you'll see, than the one on my sample, but I think just as pretty. And the reason why I wanted to use Saison is because I'm going to add some marker on top, and I didn't want it to smear. So I'm going to see how this works with non-Saison. So I'm using a Petal Pink marker, and I'm going to be careful not to smear. So I'm going to, with the Stays On, I just kind of went all crazy on top and didn't worry about smearing. But actually this is working just fine. I'm going to occasionally maybe move my marker off to the side to see if I'm picking up any ink. Nope, it doesn't look like I'm picking up any of that. So I think it dried pretty fast, and you're able to go right over the top. So I'm putting Petal Pink, and then I'm going to go over it again and add some details in Calypso Coral. And here I'm just going to start at the darker center body of the butterfly and just kind of do little wispy strokes going outward. And I'm just barely touching the paper because I want it to be kind of soft. Like so. What do you think of that? All right, and now I'm going to use my dies to cut these out. And like I said, these are going to be available February 1st, so check on that. And they are wonderful. Okay, I'll cut these out and be right back. Okay, I am back with my little pieces here. Let's go ahead and put this together. So by now my background piece is dry. So we're going to emboss our sentiment. There's a little embossing buddy. This kind of helps get static off your card and also any oils from maybe your fingers, and you get a nice crisp embossed image. Embossing buddy. And then we're going to use Versamark ink, which is kind of sticky. If you haven't embossed before, probably you have, right? I'm telling you stuff you already know, but I never know who's watching. Okay. Now we're going to grab some gold embossing powder. I like to shake it over a little scrap paper, and then I just kind of put it right back in. Okay, now I'm just going to heat these up. Oh, you know what? I didn't get enough on that one, or did I just smear it? Hopefully I didn't smear it with my sleeve. Nope, I'm good. Phew! Okay. I keep a little skewer on my desk. The heat embosser is kind of loud, so I'm going to fast forward during this, but watch how that nice powder turns to a pretty gold. And there you have it. So there is our background, and now we're just going to add some detail layers. And we're going to do that the same way as we did our cutout layers. Now for the foliage here, or the stem, whatever this is, I went to the Pear Pizzazz and the Mossy Meadow like before. But then when I added it to my background here, I stamped it twice. Once full strength, and then I moved it slightly and added a second one even lighter. Okay, now we went over our flower, but that's okay because that's not going to show once we add our popped up pieces. Okay, so next I wanted to tie my ribbon around before attaching the other pieces on top. Now when you use a watercolor on the shimmery white cardstock, see how it curled a little bit, especially up here where it's wetter? So how I stick that down is I want to use something that's going to go and keep it down nice and flat. So normally I wouldn't add adhesive, you know, across the whole back because, you know, you don't really need that much. On this one I'm going to do the edges really well, and I'm going to use this tear tape on the edge because it's going to serve a dual purpose. One, it's going to hold it down really well, but also it's going to hold down my ribbon. And then I'm also going to add, this is more adhesive than I usually use. I'm going to add a little bit of snail to the center. And that's just for the bumpiness of the card. Okay, now I'm going to add that ribbon. this way. You can go all the way around and tie a nice little bow. However, I had to make a whole bunch of these because I'm using these as a swap. So I'm going to save a little bit of ribbon, not a lot, by only going partially around, and I'm going to cut it. It's not really saving a whole lot of ribbon, but over the course of 13 cards, you know, maybe I've gotten an extra 1 or 2 out of it. So we're going to go and layer this down. And because I've got these edges nicely covered, it's going to lay nice and flat. Okay, right now it looks a little silly. Let's add our little cutouts. I love these little mini dimensionals because you can kind of get into these branches here. On this layer, I'm placing my dimensionals directly onto the card base, so I know that they're going to make contact with the base. You know, just because it's a layer on top of a layer, I don't want the layers to be uneven by sticking behind one of my already popped up layers. Okay, now we're just going to add our bow. I'm going to go around. I like to make a double loop bow. I just kind of put my fingers behind and then knot my bow. Whoa. Okay, so here is my Positive Thoughts stamp set card. I hope you like it. I hope that you're not too upset that I made 2 of them at the same time. I feel like if you're getting all this stuff out, you might as well make 2. And I needed to make 13, so I definitely wanted to make 2 at a time. All right, be sure to check out my blog February 1st for the dies. And, you know, start making your wish list. Right now we have a celebration going on too, so you've got free items with every $50 purchase. So much going on. I hope that you will check out this particular stamp set and let me know what you think about, where's my blingy one? If I should add bling or not. Add these little rhinestones. They're fun. These are in the Spring Mini catalog too, as is this ribbon, petal pink ribbon, and this, they're calling this champagne rhinestones, but they have a pinkish hue to them a little bit when you put it next to this, especially next to petal pink, which isn't a really strong pink anyway. It's kind of a blushy pink. And then they're calling the metallic on this champagne metallic, but I thought it looked nice with the gold. Anyway, so I hope that you like my card. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll come back again and join me at my Facebook page, Beth's Paper Cuts. I hope that you'll join my page, like it, and comment and join me there. Thanks so much. Bye.